One of my favorite video game genres by far is horror, and the first Layers of Fear got my attention and I enjoyed it for the most part. And now there's a sequel, Layers of Fear 2. But is this horror experience worthy of an Oscar? Or should this one just be directed straight into the trash? Layers of Fear 2 is very similar to the original Layers of Fear in it that it's a first-person perspective horror game. You're not combating the monsters. Instead, you have to solve puzzles, deal with the psychological elements such as a very creepy atmosphere, plenty of jump scares, and a whole lot of weird and creepy things that go along the journey. The original Layers of Fear dealt with a mad painter, but this time you're playing as an actor who is on a luxury cruise ship that's being helmed by a mad director. The entire game is steeped with Hollywood, especially classic Hollywood, so if you're a fan of that in particular, you're gonna probably like Layers of Fear 2 a lot more than those who don't like classic Hollywood. The game's chapters or acts have you diving farther into this acting process for this mad director. I don't want to spoil much about the story. A lot of it is symbolism that's thrown at you. There's a lot of kind of disjointness, little bits and pieces that you'll get throughout, and it's a lot of interpretation, which is something that some really like, and others won't get into quite as much. If you love the classic Hollywood stuff, though, there's a ton of motifs and references, like Wizard of Oz, or one of my absolute favorite films of all time, Metropolis, has a bunch of stuff thrown in here. The game's main collectible are these posters that you can collect, and all the posters are themed around Hollywood movies, just kind of changed up a little bit. And thankfully you can actually replay any of the acts if you want to, so if you miss something you can go back to them. And the game does feature actually multiple endings, so there is some replayability. Setting-wise, while the game is on a luxury cruise ship to start off, just like the original Layers of Fear, it doesn't limit itself. It's throwing at you all kinds of crazy stuff. You'll go through a door and you never know exactly what is going to be on the other side of that door. It could be a city, it could be the same room you just entered, it could be a hallway. You don't really know until you actually go through. The kind of creepiness and things that it throws at you, of course, get more and more involved as the acts go on, and it's always throwing something new at you. The game is not dull by any means. The main scaring point, though, is still in jump scares, which I've never been a huge fan of, but for those who like that kind of aspect, there's plenty of jump scares all throughout this game. The core gameplay, though, is first-person perspective, walking around or running around hallways. You do have to kind of hide sometimes. There's spotlights and stuff you'll also have to get away from. Most of the puzzles are relatively simple. Finding a number combination, it may be up on a ceiling, it could be behind debris. You also have ones where you'll have to stop switches or stop things on the right spots and that kind of thing. Nothing that usually got me stuck for more than just a few minutes. Any puzzle solution is usually within a few steps of wherever the lock is, so you don't have to usually go searching too far in order to get through the game's puzzles. There are a few segments where you can end up dying, but you're able to restart from the checkpoints. Checkpoints are plentiful, and there's not a ton of those moments. One thing that may bug a few people is there's a lot of moments in the game where it goes black and white, which makes things that can already be hard to see due to just the dark atmosphere of everything even a bit tougher to kind of see. But for me, it wasn't something that usually ended up hindering my experience by any means. Layers of Fear 2 is a bit longer than the original, taking me roughly about 5 hours to get through it. Like I said, though, there is the New Game Plus thing that you can replay the acts, the look for the posters, and the multiple endings, so there is some replayability and some cool stuff with that. So it is worth going more into the game if you enjoy it. From the technical side of things, I didn't run into anything major as far as glitching or crashing of any sort. Layers of Fear 2 is available now on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC for $29.99. It does feature a Platinum Trophy on the PlayStation 4. Overall, Layers of Fear 2 is another solid first-person perspective horror game. If you enjoyed the original, I can definitely recommend checking out the sequel here. The game did a good job of bringing in the whole kind of creepy atmosphere of it all. The sound design is very well done, and the classic Hollywood references really ended up adding from my experience. The game doesn't do a whole lot, though, that's very groundbreaking, and still isn't exceptionally long at $29.99. Some may find it a bit too short for that price and may want to wait for a sale. With everything said though, I do recommend checking out Layers of Fear 2 for any horror fan. I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. That's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.